Good evening, guys. It's me, Chase. I was not gonna make this video, but um, I saw another silly, stupid comment from one Anna Kasparian. Going on a rant on the what was this the podcast? Pat Dave. I forgot his podcast. I always forget the guy's name. I don't know why. Pat Bet Davison. I believe that's what it is. And she was talking about the Israeli thing, and I've been seeing it more and more on Twitter. People just going, Israel's gone too far. They're just killing people left and right. All these civilians are dying, and blah 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 blah. It's to me, it's astonishing. These armchair quarterbacks of war. And I know it's like, well, Chase, have you ever seen war? No, I've not. But the difference between me and people like Anna Kasparian and all the other idiots on Twitter, it's quite frankly just idiotic. It really is. It's stupid. I've spent a lot of time researching, world wars. I've always been just kind of a nerd for World War II. I've kind of started getting into World War One, and just I've always been fascinated with war. Not in the sense that like I enjoy war. I don't. I don't want there to be war. Don't get me wrong here. I desire peace in the Middle East. I would love for peace to be in Israel and the Palestinian area. I would absolutely love that. I mean, no sane person doesn't want that. But the thing here is two things can be true at the same time. And I'm going to try and demonstrate that in this video. I'm going to try to demonstrate a level of balance that you're not seeing in these debates. So, first thing I just want to say, again, finish my point, that I spent a good deal studying and just looking into world wars and particular battles and stuff like that. I think I've done enough to understand that when it comes to the issue of war, it is incredibly naive to take what I like to call movie style approach to the whole thing. Meaning, you treat the situation like you would in movies, which is just like a black and white, good guys and bad guys kind of thing like that. And that's how most people just apply their knowledge of warfare and these kinds of things. That's pretty much it. And that's just absolutely ridiculous. And again, it's idiotic. It's absolutely stupid. It's incredibly naive. It just simply it's just ridiculous. And so I've been seeing people on Twitter talking about this whole Israeli thing, and only one particular perspective view really from these people. I'm not gonna say leftists, even though there's a lot of leftists. But there's even people in the conservative world. Lauren Chen, for example, she's like, she's taken a position on this whole thing that I've been a little bit surprised at. It seems to me to be just very much against Israel's defending of itself, ultimately, what it is. And again, all due respect. This is coming from, these opinions are coming from people who just, from what I can tell, are incredibly naive when it comes to the issues of warfare. So what I want to do here is first, let me just, the ignorant comments that I'm seeing constantly about this whole thing. And I keep asking people, this is what I keep asking people. When they keep saying, Israel's they're killing all these people and they're just, blah, 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 blah. I keep wanting to ask them, what what's your solution? What do you want them to do? Well, I want them to stop. Okay, so what you're basically saying is when Israel is attacked unprovoked, 1,500, sorry, 1,500 of their own people slaughtered, civilians, just it was deliberately targeting civilians, slaughtered in just an attack of murder, rape, you name it. We just found out that one German Israeli girl, very beautiful young lady, not only was killed, she was beheaded. They cut her head off. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that stuff. Nobody cares. It's like we've completely forgot October 7th. We just, everybody was all siding with Israel. And then when Israel retaliates, we're all like, hey, come on. What's the deal, man? We act like we never got attacked. I mean, so I keep asking people, what do you want them to do? I want them to stop. Okay, so you want them to basically say, you killed 1,500 of our people in cold blood. We're not gonna do anything about it. Just not gonna do anything. Just gonna let it go. Lauren Chen, is that what you're saying? You saying we should just let that go? Just not do anything about it? I don't know. I really want to know the answer to that. I want to know what your solution is. What do you think somebody should do? What do you think they should do? And this one lady on Twitter, someone asked her that very question, and she just replies with, I want Israel to stop bombing innocent civilians. It's like, okay, that's not an answer. Because what you're suggesting is that Israel just not do anything. You're not really providing an answer here. Like, I'm not asking, like, obviously you want Israel to stop, like nobody's, but what I'm asking is, what do you want them to, other than that, the obvious one, how are they going to find these people and bring them to justice? What's your solution? What's your solution? I'm asking. What's the solution? And as far as I can tell, nobody's offered anything. Nobody said anything. Lauren Chen hasn't said anything. I want to find her now on Twitter. This lady, I finally had enough of her. I don't know why even Twitter is suggesting I follow her. I mean, she's actually said some things that I thought were actually pretty good. But when it comes to the Israeli thing, she just face plants. Let me see here. I'm gonna have to. For instance, like just popped up right now. It just popped up right now. This video I saw earlier today. This guy Jackson Hinkle says Israeli tank murders civilians in a car for no reason. This is an example of somebody who has no idea what war is really, what goes on in war. Just, he doesn't know what in the hell he's talking about. Just doesn't know what he's talking about. Just an idiot spouting off and not knowing what he's saying. This is a video of apparently an Israeli tank just obliterating a little car driving down the road. The car tried to turn around and the Israeli tank just took it out. I mean, just obliterated it. Again, it's horrible. It's a horrible thing. But there's this little thing called the fog of war. And it sucks. I'm not trying to say that there's anything good about it, but it sucks, but it's also part of war. It's just the way it is. Everybody started talking about what is wrong. Look, this is you guys doing your silly, stupid, judging real life based on movies and stuff. Real life just isn't like that, man. It's just not like that. You know, it is not uncommon for a military to target unknown civilian vehicles and just blow them up. The United States has done that plenty of times. I just recently watched a documentary from World War II during the Battle of Cologne. I think it was in 1945. American tanks opened fire on a civilian vehicle that was driving down the road. Why did they do that? They killed the driver and his passenger, the woman in there. They killed them both. Now, why would they do that? because they have no idea if that's friend or foe. They're in the middle of a battle. The only people they should be coming into contact with is the enemy. Civilians need to be getting out of there. Just get out. So when you know that there are military operations going on, as in war, battles going on, GTFO, get out. Get out of there. Don't go towards it. Get away from there. This car is driving straight towards this tank. He has no idea who's inside that car. Why are they driving up to us? Shoot first, questions later. It's just sometimes the way it is. And so you don't know if that's an enemy, like a car bomb or something like that. Again, the United States, it's not just in World War II. In the Iraqi war, they had to do that too. Just took out civilian vehicles because they wouldn't listen to orders, and they would keep going, blah blah blah, and they'd have to do it. But you also don't know, what if that's, again, somebody was commenting on a video of this very thing, and I just said, and they were like, they said something about it, and I was like, well, it could have also been an enemy scout in a civilian vehicle, scouting out positions, and you're going to go back and tell his friends, his buddies, where the enemy positions are. And so, see, this is the fog of war, guys. It's just part of the whole thing. Again, I'm not saying it's great, but it sucks, but it's the way it is. So to sit here and just go, they're targeting civilians, they're just blowing civilians up, it's just stupid. It's just dumb. There's a legit reason why you would do something like that. You don't know if that's friend or foe. You don't know if that's an enemy scout, like a recon unit, and it's scouting locations, and it's going to go and let his buddies know or something like that. And so you take it out. The bottom line is, if that's a civilian, you got no business being there right now. You need to just stay away from there. Just get out of there. In many ways, those people got blown up, and it was kind of their own fault. It's just the way it is, man. It's just the way it is. If you guys want a clean, black and white kind of war, go watch a movie in your little fantasy lands. That's not real life. That's not what real war is like. Well, I just wish there wasn't war. Yeah, you know what? I wish there wasn't war either. I really wish there wouldn't be. But that's just the fact of the matter. It's just the way it is. Again, I go back to the question, what do you want Israel to do? So I'm trying to find this lady. Okay, so there's this lady named Diane Yap, who is she's been posting a lot about Israel and being against Israel's attack. It's retribution, as it were, for Hamas. And she posted this video of this kid, I guess, lost his mom, in Gaza. And so she tweets this and says, "This is why you cannot defeat Hamas by bombing civilians. Today's orphans become tomorrow's Hamas." And so people have been asking her, some guy just named Dr. Krusty said, "What would you propose?" She says, "Stop bombing civilians. Seems pretty obvious that if the goal is eliminate Hamas, you don't help them recruit." And so I just said, that's not an answer to his question. What is the alternative to removing Hamas? And I never got a reply. So people like this Diane Yap don't offer any realistic solutions here. Like none whatsoever. Just stop bombing. Stop blowing them up. Okay, so what we're doing is we're just basically giving Hamas the go-ahead to just go ahead and do that again. Just go and just behead another beautiful 30-year-old young woman. Just go ahead and do it. Rape them all. We're not going to do anything about it. We can't. And they come in and they kill a bunch of our people, behead babies, behead women, rape women, murder people. They run back to Gaza. Um, and we go, man, we want to get some payback here, but we can't because they're hiding behind their civilians. And so there's nothing we can do. And that's one of the reasons why Ana Kasparian's whole arguments about Hamas hiding behind civilians is just a bunch of crap. They do hide behind their civilians. That's just fact that Hamas operates in Gaza. That's just fact. It's just a fact. And there's a bunch of people in Gaza. Their main military base is underneath a freaking hospital. At least what I've seen. Anyway, that's what I've been told. Underneath the hospital. So don't give me this garbage that they hide behind. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's silly. And again, Lauren Chen has been echoing these very same sentiments, and I'm just like, what do you want them to do? Here's the issue. So let me tell you just what's actually the actual thing, like what the reality is. Okay. Ana Kasparian gave this stupid analogy where if someone held your child hostage and the police were coming up to take the bad guy out, and they decided, you know what, we're just gonna shoot the bad guy up, and if we hit the hostage, we hit the hostage. That's fine. I'm like, that actually is not that analogy kind of fails because that's not actually what's going on over there. That's not actually that doesn't picture the reality of things here. I mean, yes, Hamas has hostages, sure. But this isn't a hostage situation. That's not what this is. This is this is more like an idiot who is living in a glass house, throws stones at somebody living in a actual house that has concrete foundations and whatnot. Throwing rocks while living in a glass house. Okay, that's normally not a good idea because people can throw back and just bust your house into pieces really, really easily. That's actually what this is more like. But people like Ana Kasparian conveniently ignore those kinds of things because it doesn't fit her narrative, which is a little disappointing for Ana because she's trying to be a little bit more honest, but still struggling with that a little bit. The simple fact of the matter, so this is what the actual issue here is. So let me just put it this way. When you are going to invade a country, whether it's justified or not, doesn't matter. That's not the point here. When the United States, for instance, invades, okay, their objective is to neutralize the enemy's ability to fight. That specifically implies that their targets are military targets, not civilian targets. They're military targets, okay? Now again, people are saying, well, that's what Israel's doing. Again, different situation because the enemy is hiding within the civilian population, okay? It makes it a little bit difficult to weed them out. Okay, so it's not the same thing. All right, so, but the objective in an actual military operation is to neutralize the enemy's ability to fight. So you target military installations, destroy airfields, things like that, cut off supplies, and things like that. That's what you do, okay? When you see the footage of Hamas invading Israel, these dudes are flying in on gliders. They got some basic small arms equipment, apparently a little bit of naval, which I never saw any of, but I would imagine it's nothing more than a couple little boats with some guys on it, and they were specifically targeting civilians. Okay, this is a ragtag group of just third world country punks, thugs. Clearly, it's pretty obvious. they're taking on a first world country that has tanks, that has modern military technology. It is very obvious that this small little ragtag team of thugs is not neutralizing Israel. Okay. And they never even seem to target any military target or installations. They target civilians. Okay, so you did nothing to neutralize the enemy. All you do is attack their people. What did you think is going to happen next? I mean, what what do you think is going to happen? When you do something like that, there's only two possible explanations. One, you're either incredibly stupid, or you deliberately intended to poke the bear. Maybe a little bit of both. So when the bear goes crazy and attacks and maybe kills a couple of your friends, but then also maybe starts killing a bunch of other people because he's really, really mad, whose fault is it that the bear is really, really mad and killed people? That's your fault. That's on you. When a bunch of silly kids in the neighborhood find a gigantic infestation of wasps, like a big, massive wasp nest, and they decide to just throw rocks at the wasp nest. Okay, so these attacks are clearly not designed to actually neutralize the nest. All they're gonna do is piss them off. Everybody who gets stung in the neighborhood as a result of that, whose fault is that? That's the fault of the kids throwing rocks at the wasp nest. If you're actually going to remove an infestation of wasps, you need to have the proper adequate equipment to systematically neutralize the nest in a way that doesn't bring harm to other people, etc. Blah, blah, blah. But that's not what they did. They just were like, hey, I got some rocks here. You guys want to have some fun? Let's terrorize the wasps. And that's it. And then everybody after that gets hurt, that's your fault. That's Anna Kasparian, that's more of an analogy of what's going on. Hamas poked the bear, threw rocks at their nest, and now they're crying like little babies when Israel retaliates. Again, I ask, what did you think was going to happen when you do something like this and you know you have not even come close, nor even attempted to neutralize Israel's military? So the reality is, everybody who's suffering in Gaza right now, whose fault is it? It's not Israel's fault. It's Hamas's fault. They're the real villains here. Mrs. Diane Yap, if that's how you pronounce your name, that's the actual issue here. It's Hamas. They need to be wiped out. And sadly, because Hamas are cowards who don't care about their people, this is the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. There's no other way. For once, I disagree with Colonel Douglas Macgregor in his assessment of this whole thing. You know, he thinks that Israel needs to stop doing this because it's going to trigger war. And all due respect to the general, he's obviously, I think he even though I disagree with him, he's everybody else has a more reasonable position. He's more concerned with regional instability that could lead to wars that could hurt more people. I can understand that. I can legitimately understand it. But see, the thing is, when it comes to something like this, you just cannot ignore that. Justice has to be served. Retribution. There has to be, somebody has to pay. You just cannot let that go. You just can't. So, in that sense, I actually disagree with the colonel on that one. His Ukraine stuff, I absolutely agree with him on. With this stuff, can't abide that. I do agree that the United States should stay out of it. Absolutely. I don't think the United States should be getting involved in this whole thing. This is Israel's fight. So that's it. But This is just the facts of the matter. There's nothing else you can do. If and so what is it? This is what I propose. If you want peace, Hamas has to be removed. So if the Palestinian people really want peace, they need to recognize that the people in charge, Hamas, are the reason they're suffering. Because this whole idea of Israel occupying Gaza is a bunch. That's more garbage. That's garbage. That's not true. Well, they're able to cut off their water supply. It means they're in charge of the water supply. Yeah, that's because Gaza does not have a functional infrastructure to be able to supply their own water. So Israel does it for them. Israel helps them out. That's why. And so Israel can give you water, take it away. This is like the whiny little man child living with his mom and dad, who decides to complain to them about this, that, and the other thing. You're living in your parents' house. They're the ones who supply everything for you, and they can take it all away from you. They give it to you because they, out of generosity, out of grace, they don't have to give that stuff to you, so they can take it away. Gaza, you know what? We're not going to give you guys water. As long as your guys are aiding and abetting terrorists, well, you can get your own damn water. How's that? But Gaza its infrastructure is so bad they can't supply their own water and their own food. And I wonder why that is. Again, it's not because of Israeli occupation. The whole idea of Israel occupying Gaza doesn't even make any sense. If Israel was occupying Gaza, occupation kind of implies you have your military there, they're in control of things, keeping the peace, making sure everybody's obeying the rules of the occupier, kind of thing like that. That's kind of what occupation seems to imply. If that's the case, there would be Israeli troops in Gaza, which would mean that the attack could not have happened, because the Israeli troops in Gaza would not have allowed it to happen. But when the attack happened, there was no Israeli troops anywhere, literally nowhere. So kind of doesn't make any sense. And they would also I would imagine they wouldn't even be firing rockets, because those are coming from Gaza. Firing into Israel, Israeli troops occupying the area would have stopped those. So this whole idea of occupation is dumb. It's stupid. It's all idiotic. People don't know what they're talking about. This is Gaza is a failing state. It is just a piss poor ghetto land. Sorry, it is. But see, the thing is, again, whose fault is that? It's Hamas's fault, because they're the ones in charge. It's their responsibility. Why can't they seem to get their act together? Why does Israel have to provide them water and supplies? Because they can't do it themselves, because the Hamas leaders only care about taking over Israel. They don't care about the well-being of their people. All of their funds, all their focus is not towards making life better for the people in Gaza. It's towards Israel. Israel won't let them do that. This is, again, how does that make any sense? That doesn't make any sense. If Israel wants the Gazan people to just, if they don't like them, they could just easily just go in there and just any day of the week and just remove them. Why would Israel tolerate Hamas just firing rockets into Israel on a weekly basis? Why would they tolerate that? Why don't I just go in there and just, if they really hated the Palestinians, they could just wipe them out really easily. Why don't they? See, this stuff doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. When you actually sit and think about it, it doesn't make any sense. So the thing is the people in Gaza suffer because their leaders don't care about them. They don't care about them. If Hamas was actually concern for the people of Gaza. Number one, they would have thought, we're like a third world country right now. We just do not have the economic infrastructure and therefore military capabilities of taking over Israel. We just don't have that ability to do that. So we need to start thinking about, if we want to do that sometime in the future, we need to really get our priorities straight and make Gaza a better place, develop better, things like that. So that's what they would do. And in fact, if you're actually being reasonable and you're a leader leading Gaza, you going, yeah, Israel's like they can just wipe us out whenever they want. Maybe we should try to make friends. Probably be better for us, be better for our people if we decided instead of trying to just wipe Israel out, we need to find diplomatic solutions to our problems so that we can be a better state to take care of our people and have joint mutual agreements with one another. That's what they'd be doing, but they don't do that. No, they don't do that. No, let's just keep firing rockets. You know what? Let's just go ahead and just attack Israel. That's going to turn out really, really well. That's going to go swimmingly. That's what they actually decide to do. And then we got people on Twitter who just run around saying stupid things, don't know what they're talking about. And again, look, I can agree with Laura and Shen. I would want this to stop. I would absolutely want this to stop. But it only stops with the removal of Hamas. That's the only way it's going to stop. And if the people of Palestine want peace, they need to give up their leaders. They need to give them up. They need to give up Hamas, surrender them to Israel. I guarantee you, if they were to do that, peace instantly, because that's what Israel wants. They want Hamas. And as long as Hamas is hiding with civilians, they will suffer more. So this is not a situation where a bad guy has your family hostage. Gaza is not Israel's family. So that's not the same thing. This is just quite frankly, this is just bad people literally using human shields. So that when Israel blows them up and kills a lot of people, they go, look what Israel's doing. Look what they're doing. And look at us here in the West, hook, line, and sinker, we fall for. We just let look, I'm not trying to say Israel doesn't have propaganda. Look, I'm sure they do. I'm not one of these people who go, Israel, I stand unequivocally for Israel. I'm not one of those people. I still to this day want to know why one of the best intelligence networks in the world, systems in the world, completely failed to see this coming. Actually, I would say they didn't, because they were already being warned about it and they did nothing. I still want to know why that happened. And if I find out that Netanyahu let it happen so that he can do this, well, then my opinion will change completely. But until then, I have to go with the obvious assumption, Occam's razor. Simplest solution, simplest explanation is the best, is the preferred, okay? When we get better information, then things may change. As it stands right now, Israel's got to do what Israel's got to do. And that's just the simple fact of the matter. These are just the facts. That's war. That's just the way it is. In war, civilians unfortunately get caught in the crossfire. They need to get out. Well, they have nowhere to go. Well, then one more reason why Hamas should not have done this. That's just the simple facts, man. Everybody who's dying and suffering in Gaza is Hamas's fault. And if the people of Palestine really want things to change, they need to identify the real problem. It's Hamas. Hamas is why this is happening to them. You can't blame a country. You really can't, legitimately, for seeking justice for its own people being attacked. If the roles were flipped, I'm sure you would all want Hamas to find justice for Israel attacking unprovoked their own people. and deliberately targeting the people, not military targets, human beings, civilians, deliberately targeting civilians, defenseless civilians. So I know I would. And so fair standards all the way across. Hamas, knowing it has no capability of fighting Israel head on, just goes with an attack, pokes the bear. The bear gets pissed off, and the bear starts going crazy, and everybody goes, that bear just being a jerk, you know? No, who set the bear off? Those are the people you need to be going after. But nope, we don't do that stuff, because we interpret war based on movies and TV shows and things like that. That's how we do it. It's just simplistic, silly, and dumb. Take some time to actually research and what war actually is, the grittiness of war. When it comes to war, man, there is none of this who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. It's ruthless, and it has to be. Soldiers and fighting in war, you know, they go to war to protect their country, but when they're actually in the fight, those dudes are just trying to survive, and they're gonna do anything they can to survive, and they're gonna do. They go over there for their country, but in the midst of the battle, it's all about their brothers around them. And even in better circumstances, a lot of men, veterans of war, like in World War II, that's why you see a lot of, World War II vets on both sides make good friends later on, because they wouldn't normally be enemies. They would actually probably get along really well. But the fact of the matter is, when they're in war, they think and they know, if I don't kill this guy, he's going to kill me. I have no choice. It's a sad reality. It's sad. But it is the reality. It's just the reality. Again, that documentary I mentioned earlier today, you see the video of the Pershing tank shoot a shell straight into the enemy Panzer. Takes out the Panzer. The guys are jumping for their lives to get out of the Panzer, which is on fire. The dude who fired the shot from the Pershing later says, he basically says, I hope the guys in that tank survived. I didn't want to kill those guys. He doesn't even want to kill them. But he has to. Because it's either you or me. And I pick you. I want to go home. And I know that guy wants to go home. That German soldier, those German soldiers wanted to go home. And it sucks. I wish it didn't have to be that way. But that is the way it is. That's war. Okay? So if you just want to sit here and armchair quarterback all this stuff with your movie lenses on, where there's clear right and wrong, you have fun with that. It's not the real world. It's not what actually is going on. It's not the actual reality of it. War sucks. War is vicious. It's violent, bloody. It's also entirely avoidable. And it could be stopped. If we want to talk about really right and wrong, it could be stopped when Hamas gives itself up, or when the Palestinian people give them up. Until then, they suffer, and it's their fault, because they won't give up their leaders. They will give up the leaders who are the reason why they're suffering. So, I had to just get that off my chest about just people who just don't know what they're talking about. All due respect, just don't know what they're talking about. Just apparently seem to think, again, because I still have not gotten answers to these questions. Every time I ask them to people, seem to think that when Israel gets attacked in such a horrible way, they should just stand by and do nothing. Well, they should demand, the UN or blah 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 to do something. Okay, but again, the question is, let's say you call for action, from the UN or blah blah blah. What do they do? You know Hamas isn't just going to surrender. What do? You're stuck at the same question. So unless I'm just completely missing something, I would absolutely love to hear people like Lauren Chen and this Diane Yap lady. What do you want us to do? What should Israel do other than stop blowing up Gaza? Okay, I mean, again, obviously I get that, I understand that, but what else? How does Israel find justice for the lives lost? How do they do it? Tell me, how do they do it? And I will sit here and I will wait for an answer. Until then, I just think a lot of people act like they know what they're talking about, and they don't. They really don't know what they're talking about. Again, I don't normally say something like that, but when it comes to this, I'm just so sick and tired of hearing all this crap of people just going, again, just very, very shallow opinions based on black and white scenarios. It's just the way it is. So there's a little video. I'm going to go to bed because I'm really, really tired and I got work in the morning. Soli Deo Gloria. God bless.